me just one second. Yeah, so here is our schedule. I would like to give you some details. So today we are going to have Bayan Sami Abdurrahman with us, and then KK Lukman Ahmad, artist who lives in, I think, Washington, D.C. And we are going to have some video music clips from Group Cell, Arash, and David. First of all, so let's start with Kurdish national anthem, Ay Raqib, and then after that we will continue with our other music clips. Let me work on that. Give me just one second.
يلا نكمل عم نوصل.
أي رقيب هر ما يقوم كالزمان ناشك ودانای تو به زمان ناشک ودانای تو به زمان کس نبکردم برن کس نبکردم برن برد جندلم جندلم ادنا کبری آنا بودم جندلم ادنا کبری آنا بودم Borden, renge zoru shorshın, sevmeke fınadiyam medarjan, sevmeke fınadiyam medarjan. Kasnebi kurdun mürün, kasnebi kurdun mürün, kurdu jindimin. Jindimin ennatemi hala buradan, jindimin ennatemi hala buradan. Ormin min yahuke yüzrebin din iman var iman her neştiman din iman var iman kurdu Kurdistan Kasnebi kurdum mürün kasnebi kurdum mürün kurdu jindimin jindimin ennatemi hala buradan jindimin ennatemi hala buradan ناوی کردرا توی سر به وکشران تاب کن نقشیم بگی تاجی جیان تاب کن نقشیم بگی تاجی جیان کس نبی کردم گلن کس نبی کردم گلن کرد جندبن جندبن اتنا کبی آنا کنم جندبن اتنا کبی آنا کنم Ötem hazırım aleni can fidan can fidan her can fidan can fidan can fidan her can fidan
Okay, and then now we have, I can see that we have new participants, Newroz Pirozbe, Happy Newroz again. So and then now we are going to listen to Newroz song by a Kurdish music group, Koma Bar Khodan. I think it was under Necheme. Let me try to find the song. There we go.
شكوتي من رزاوة شيبو بندنا نخشاوة صول بوتينا كجياوة جا سري بيا وناوة بوني خوشي هلالا بياو مصدك على نوالا وانا شهيدة قلالا نخينا ودا شلالا او انا روزايا نوروزي كور دواري بيروزا جشني بونو صالي تازي كور دواري هاتوا جشني بونو صالي تازي كور دواري هاتوا هاتوا عندي خماتي او قال پشت هاتوا نوروزي كور دواري بيروزا هاتوا جوان تريا جران جشني كوي قارمان هاتوا جوان تريا جران جشني كوي قارمان شوينا واري ميدي يا بابي يا دوري بوردكان نوروزي كور دواري بيروزا نوروز خوابشین دست بکا بهاران دب رمانک پسر مشور شیل کاربن شیرو بین آزاد دبر سر شبا باقروان هر دورین اشتمان ایمان ببر خدان اوا نوروزایا نوروز کور دواری بیروزا بهاری سوجواری گوری رنگ دنیای آل بری گل آری سری لزمه دایی بهاری کاواری ابین عدولای سرد دنا فضای عالم دیای بهاری جاری گوری رنگ دنیای آل بری گل آری سری لزمه دایی بهاری کاواری ابین عدولای سرد دنا فضای عالم دیای
So now we are going to have our president, Osman Jan, president of Kurdish Culture Center of Illinois, who is going to welcome you. And then, by the way, many friends from community and members contributed to this event. So we are grateful to have them. So now you will hear Mahmoud Osman Jan.
بخیر هاتنن هوانو سرسرا سرچاوارون هاتنن. Welcome to our event. Sorry, it is not that great due to the circumstances that we are going through, but I would like to welcome you all, and we try our best to have a a gathering for our community. We would like to thank very much to our guest speaker, Lukman Ahmad and Bayan Sami Abdurrahman. Bayan Khan seemed to have a little time problem. Khushka Bayan, are you here? I guess not yet. With that, we can go ahead with Kake Lukman. And then once Kake Lukman finished, Khushka Bayan can step in and then go for her presentation. Kake Lukman is a Kurdish hunermand, a Kurdish artist. He has beautiful, meaningful humanitarian drawings. He shared a couple of slides with me, and I kind of tried to put them into a slideshow before his talk, and then I will give him the stage. Bahatin, can you let me share my screen with you, please?
Yes, Mamushta, now you should be able to.
Okay. So, Kake Ahmad is Kake Lukman is an artist, and he has also a link here. I hope you can see his links here. So lukmanahmad.net, I had a time to check it. It is beautiful. He has very much beautiful art, and he uses different techniques as well as digital art. So I'll show you some of his work. The artwork on our flyer is actually his work, named Newroz. And then he has drawn very nicely the prominent Kurdish activists and Kurdish prominent people like Ape Musa, Leila Qasim, and Mir Abdulrazak Badr Khan, Saida Tiresh, Roshan Badr Khan, Aram Tigran, Jaladat Ali Badr Khan, Ahmad Sheikho, Maryam Khan, Ranjbar Aziz, Kamran Ali Badr Khan, Gulbahar, and many others. These were just a little slideshow from few of his artwork. And then with that, I will give him the stage and let him talk a little bit about his art and its importance in maintaining and promoting Kurdish culture and language. Welcome Kake Lukman, and zor spas jbo hatnatej bo zamanitej bo karite. Bebere, please.
Gelek spas jore. Spas yawa dikim. حز دکم کردی بیجم هگر پیوست بس کارم انگلیسی جی بیجم لیم خسکوش بو نوروزی خسکو هم هنکی زمان کردی جی بدن پیش سلاوه کی بدن زمان کردی و ججناوا پیروز به یا نوروزی الوا و الحمد دنیای پیروز به راستی سپاسیاوا دکم جبو وی درفتی گو از نابودمه و کند زانن گو جیروکا کردایان کشیا کردی جیروکا گلک تبلهه گلکی نه آسانه مخابن گوجبر روشا پولیتیک یا سیاسی یا روشا کردا هنک تشتین کردا وک ملت هاتن چوساندن یعنی برچاو نبونه ام بیجن جالیه کلتور و چانده گلکی دیار نبوی تنه با آلی کی دهاتی ناس کرن کو کرد شروانن کرد دنا سیاست دنه و اویاج مره دمان ها ده بیش دمکی پر باشولی اف دمان ها از باوردکم گرینگیا تشتی دن هنه یعنی ام چاوا موک ملت خو بدن ناس کرن ام جالیه کلتوری و جالیه هنری و جالیه خیر و برکت کردستان جی ام بدن ناس کرن بخلکی او گلکی گرینگه و از باوردکم او تجربه ملتین دن يعني ام بيجن ملتي وقت جهو وقت جو ولاتي خو عواكرن يكم تش تسبيكرن جو جهدان زمان جو لازم زمانك تشيل او زمان بنجه جو ام لسر ابابكن اجا دنافر قالك تشتدني جيتين برشاوا جواناجي هنرا كردي دقالك اب رنقاد ديار دبي جو كرد ديروكا كمد اگر ام بگرن 3000 سال بري زاينده لويدا دناف كفن شوبين ديروكي د مزابوتاميا د لهريما كردستاني لباكور لقالك دفرين شكفتو جين ديروكي تدبينه جو هم تشتين كفالين جو بحثات تشتين هنري دكي شوازين جو هاتن تشكرن كردا تايبت بتايبتي ام بيجن يميتانيا حوريا كاشيا خلديا قالك تشتن هاتن برچاوا هاتن ديار كرن و ديروك ناسا يعني كسن كولسر اركيولوجيا كاردكن او تشتانا ديتن لنزاني يبون كيجان ملته يعني او نزاني يبون بي او كيف غريداي نهاد في دمان هذا نها لكلين باش تشد بي جو او دبيجن افتشتكي غريداناوي بلي ملته كولسر في خاكي اف جغرافيا هاني ملته كرد ومهنك لكلين جالي خجي كرم ديتن يعني او فرقاوي هي مدابر هبدو بيجن كاتش فرق دناف هنرا بيكر بتايبتيد علي بيكر دي هي كلاده تشيكرنا بيكر ده دناف بيجن كاشيا دي ميتانيا دي حوريا دي ودناف او بيجن شهرستاني دوي دميتها ي اشوريا ي حيثيا ي بيجن فرعونيا ي مصريين كفن مدابر هفدو مديد جوجلكي فرقي ين حطاني بابليا كرد تشتي قالك تايبت بخوتشي كربون سمبولين تايبت بخوتشي كربون ام بيجن جوانا كفوك د قالكي د كاري وان دخاني دك حسب قالكي د كاري وان د ديار دك او ستيركا حشت ام بيجن تيري جنوي هنا او جي يا كردا تشيكري د قالك ديروكي د برهمي وان د ديار دب وياتي نواتيكي جو املت بتشتاف غريداي جي هنري حزدك وهنر هر جار ولو دجياناوي درباسوي حتى ني روجاين روجا اسكارم تشتكي قالك آسان بيجم برچاوا گوجلو برگي كردا اگر هم ليد مرن بيچقسي رنگين چقسي رنگين جوان وزنگين دنابدي او تينه برچاوان جو املتا قالكي خزاي حسكري قالكي ج خرستي حسكري قالكي جرنگا حسكري قالكي جياني حسكري ومدبين جي دناف ستراني كردي دناف هلبستا كردي ده قالك وصفتي دي يعني اختيقو بحثا هلبستي دكن هقر از بدن بر هلبستا عربي قالك تجريد ابستراكت ليه يا كردي قالك وصفتي دي يعني تشتا بتشعب دك بيجي افتشتا الكيلكافي تشتي او يا دينه واتيكي جو ملتك هشمندياوي تشتكي تايبت هي ليه مخابن جبر روشا كردا يا سياسي ويا لشكري درفت شي نبوغو او تشتانا دركن برچا ازوك هنرمندكي كرد محسكر جو از اف هنرات دستيمده اف بحريات دستيمده از ملتي خوجي دور نخينم از دينداري ملتي خون اف تشتيغو زكم خيرا في ملتي ازكم راسيز بيجم متشافي خفكر بو از او بحر الجم هي اسكارم تشتا باشي بكم تشافي مباش اسكارم مو بكشينم ودناف دمي دمدي وقتس كشيا سياسيه كردا جديد مديد جو ام قالك استنجيل بيشامهن تنكار بلز ام دكبن زندان هذا بلز ريل برنتي قرتن لازم امريك دني ببينن ودباوريامد او رياجي دبيجو دريا هنري دب دريا چاندي دب دريا موسيقى درب اوانا دهلگو بيتر مرخو بدناسكرن بيتر جي حوالو دوستي مرچ دبن اجبرگو بتشتكي نرمايي بتشتكي شهرستاني ملت دبن حوالي مره وخلق باريانا مرتي وقدري مره دغر اجبر في هاي مكروك اميركي مدس بيكر ج يعني قال لك دم قال لك بتشوف اجتمني خام او تشتانات شكرا وبهن هديه دي وقتي الصرف ازهيني بيجن تشتين هنريبو تكنيكاوي درياوي ني برفره مو قلت لازم ازوان تشتانا باشتر لسر تشتكي بنجها كردي عواقب برسكات بالامي جو ام وقتي بيجن هنرا كردي قال لك خلق عاجز دبن دبيجن چما هنرا كردي تني لي هجر ام بفكرن ديروكا هنريده يعني ملي كولين باش سركلي ام بيجن ديرو هنرا هولندي ام بيجن هنرا فرنسي ام بيجن هنرا عربي ام بيجن هنرا تركي لي دم اختي سرعه كردي هرتش سكن دبيجن كردي تني مخص قو ام هنرا كردي تشيك والسر كار دكم راسي ناس بتاني از ويانكم قنجيا خوي هوالو دوستين دني هنرمند دن هنه سر كار دكم چام كارن بنگه هكي چيبكن قو هنرا كردي يعني ببه ناسنامه ملت كرد نه بپاشمایه که سیاسی نه ببرفره به هنرک مدرن هنرک نوجن هنرک گو کار به برسوی بده کار به تکنیکا خو شیوازا چکرنا خو تکه آستک بلند او دندری خود بابت خود جی بابت کردی به چاوا مدس به داستان کر داستان کردی یعنی امنه چون ما بحساب برخدان و شر او تشتانا نکر دناف دستمه تشتکی آسان و خوش و زنگین هي او کلپورا کردی فلکلورا کردی دقلك دفري نويد بحصا الشر نبوي دقلك دفري بحصا كردستان وسياسة نبوي بحصا جياني نورمال بوي افين داري بوي بحصا خرستي بوي بحصا بيجن تشتني فكرو راماني فلسفي تدهنه دناف هلبستي ملاي جزيري ده احمدي خاني ده دناف فقيه تيراده دناف وانا ده تختي تدخينه تدبينه جو تشيروكك دنيتي دهيه كو بيتر جناف ملت دردك جناف ملتك فكرة نتوكي دردك كفيد بأستك بالانتر جو بغريدانا إنسان مروف بخزايده غريدانا مروف بخدان أو تشتانا دهيلو جو مرا سر كار بك يعني وقت جو أزوي تشتاب كار بينم دبي بنگه هاوي كي بنگه كردية لهجرن بدن بره بدو هناكي لآلية فارسا أو تشتاب كاراني مثلا بيجن فارسا شيرازي حافظي شيرازي وسعدي شيرازي وخيام وفردوسي بكارانين هلبس ديوان بكارانين وكرن وينا قال لك وينا بحزارة وينا هن الجوانا بكارانين كرن بيجن هنرا فارسي جبرقو بابتاوي فارسي وهلبس تواني يقول سر أواكن فارسي وهنرمن ديويجي فارسي بابتك تشيكرن هنرك تشيكرن هنرك بلند أست بلند رنگکی و ناسنامه یک دانه گو بجر بجن هنرا فارسی و او آلیکاری دکش بو گو ناسنامه یا نتوکه چه بی دنرین آمده جبو کرداجی گلکی پیوسته گو هنر ببه بشک جوی خباتا پیدا کرنا ناسنامه یک کردی دناو دنیای ده کرد تن ناسکرن تنه به آوای سیاسی تنه به آوای وقتی بحثا شر و کشتنی ده اما خواست مگو لسر هناك تشتيدني كاربكن ازوك هنرمندكي بشك جوي خباطه هان و باوريام بناسنامه ملتي متي باوريام بخباطه في ملتيتي ريز وقدر من جوان كساني جو خباط كرنه وقت انا ديار جكر ما مستقو او وينيم تشيكر يه ديجيتالي اي كسن نافداري كردا مباوايك نه اناس تشيدكم جبرغو باوريام بي خباطاتي چما عمل خوكيم دنرن يكي وك مير جلادت بدرخان دناف كرداد هي جو بحفت زمانا زاني بو وقالك كارو خباطين قالك باركيش كربون هجر للدفرك دني با هجر دناف نتوك دني دبا وقالك قيمتها وقالك بلنبايا لي بلا كرد ولاتي وانتني او تشتانا هيدي ديوان دادبن جبربي هاوي او بشك هنر دبي بشك جبو ابا كرنا ناسنامه في ملتي مخابن رخناك قالك نخش لسر روشا كردايا كولتورو چاندي هي گوگلكي باش البيش نكتيه هر دم خباتن سياسي خباتن لشكري لبيشيا وان صناعي از باردكم نها درفت هاتيه سمن وقتا بيوندي اي نها قالك الاوين باش چيبون بجن سوشيال ميديا چيبويه ميديا البيش كتيه چونو هاتن قالكي آسان بويه مركار بيتر خبد ناس كرن واز بيجم لازم هيزن سياسيه كرداجي partiyen siyasiye kurdaji او جي دستی خو بدن بیتشتی و بچکیل سرویس کنن گو هنر و چاند بگشتی کلتور بگشتی ریه گلکی باشه گو ام پیوندیات ناف خو و ملت دین چه بکن ام خو بدن ناس کرن وکو ملت کی هشمندیاوی هیه ملت کی چاوکی تایبت لتشتاد نره لرنگا ام بیجن دناف کرداده کرد لدناف زردشتی آده یعنی اولا زردشتی بره یان دناف یزیدی آده اوانی گونها دجین دنامه ده دناف یارسان آده دناف کردمه علوی ده اوانا تف ده جالیه اولیوه رنگ ناب کارتین رنگی گلک تایبت ملتی دن دناف ملتی ندناف ترکاد ندناف عربات ندناف فارسا ده بکار ناینه ام بیجن تشتکی دن از خوازم بین بیراوه ده شونا ده وقتی گو تعزیه به دوری رحیوه به او تشتانه وقتی دبن هم بالا خود دینی مثلا از مدایبر هبدو دناف عربا ده کلتوره کی گو وقتی عزا تعزیه چی دبه جلی رشت خود کن گلکی یعنی رشایی بسروانتی کرد او تشتا گلکی جماعت نی کرد نورمال جلی خوی نورمال خود کن او تشتکی ده خانه کرن گو گریدانا وی ملتی هانی اف کلتوره که فکری هی اگر زولو بیجم کلتوره وان گلکی بسر تشتا فکری ایجا براستی از بیجم لازم ام آلی کار بن ام وی کلتوری بدن ناس کرن بخلکی به دمین داویده بدیجیتال بکارانی راستی هنرا دیجیتال گو از هنرا دیجیتال مدید گو آمیره گلکی باشه کرستیک باشه و از بسر بوم مهنک تشت کاری خود من ویدل دنگ امریکانه کار کرد مدی گلکی باشه مگو ام باشه بکار بینن نهاجی از برنامه سرچه دکم خلکی فیر دکم زمانی کردیز باور دکم جاره که گو ام زمانی کردی افجی یعنی تشتکی خوشه گو ام زمانی کردی در باسی ناف تکنولوژیا بکن ناو هنری بکن و ام خلکی خود بدن ناس کرن دی اف هنر چاوایی و چاوتی آوا کرن و گلک براسی گلک شوپینر چی و نهات شوپینن و از آلی کاریوان دکم چاوا فیر ببن چاوا کاربن هنرا دیجیتال بکار بینن جبو گو بهره خواه هنری لپیش خینن دناو ویرجی از نها پروژکت مهیه ناس نافدارین کردا یانجی از بیجم خودی کدین یکو دناو دیروکا کردا ده کدک دانه و جی هر چار پرچه کردستانی از نل جیه کی تسکنم و از رونیتینم سر همه آلیا پروژکت دو مدریجه یعنی بداوی نهاتی از بسری خودکم کسک لپاش بتنی از خوازم گو وان کسانا بدن ناس کرن با آوائه کی باش یعنی برنگه کی هنری و همان دمیده جی هنکی رونی بین سر جیان آوان کارچی کرنه حیانی آنا جمارک باش چی بویی مگلک کس آنی بون مثلا از بیجم جبو جنه ویمه هی متایبت جبو جنه تشتک چی کر ناوی آدار جن هنر و پروژه بچوچک از دخوازم هر جاری برهمه که چی بکم سر جنا کرد یا داویم چی کربو میک جوانا چی کربو انجوم یا ملکی انجوم یا ملکی ملیگرین سر کر خانمه که کرد گو یکم جن لإستانبول جنه که کرد خلق سلیمانی یکم جن کوملا جنین کرد لإستانبول سال 1919 شکلی او تی برچاوی مره گو اف چقسی پیشکتن جنبی خلقی هبو سال 1919 اف خاتونا هانی کوملاک جبو جنا کردا چکری مخص گوزی بدم پیش از بدم ناس کرن جبو گو او پشتوانیک به جبو جنی کرد گو ناز بکن خبات هاتی کرن کرد نل پاشمان جنا کرد نل پاشمای جنا کرد هر خبات کریه لی جبر روشک وصال سر کردا هاتی ایدی لپاشمای یادنه جی سر پروژه خواست بیجم پروژه میدنی هیه ام داستانا کردا داستانین گو دنگ بیجا ستران بیجا گوتنه او یاجی مخص گو ازوی بکم وک برهمکه هنریشی وکاری وک من بری آنا مگو ام چاوا کارن هنر کردی چی بکن دنری نامده هنر کردی نم آلا کردستانی چی بکن یانجی ام پیشمرگا کی یانجی شروانه کی چی بکن یانجی سروکه کی یان تشتکی گو یکسر گریدانا کردای نه از باور دکم ام کارن جناف زمانی کردی یعنی جناف کلپورا کردی وانت شانا درخیل بابت به کردی به و ای هنرمند کرده او شوازه که تازه ترزکی مدرن نوجن چه بکه و دمی تکار خو بده ناس کن تبیج اویا برهم کردی چبر گوج حسری حیا بنی برنگ کی کردی هاتی چه کرد و با اوای کی وکری وقتی کی امریکی جلی تماشا بکه دل خوش تبیج بر گو با اوای کی contemporary وقتی با اوای کی مدرن نوجن هاتی چه کرن کار رنگالی ببینه کار جوانیایی ببینه کار خط و خیز نوی ناز بکه بنر گو افنره که آواکری یعنی جالیه شیوکاری آلیه هنری و هنره افچوب جالیه بابت ایجام در باس بابت آوی بابت کردیه ام قالا داستانی کردا دکن داستانا بیجن کی داستانا جبلیه میری هکاریا داستانا که دنگ بیجا گوتی سترانبێژە گوتی گرێدا ناوی سیاسی تنەیە دناو حەسکە چیرۆکێک ئەڤینداریە و هاتی چێکردن و بەلا بووی دناو کووردا دێ لەگەلک دەڤەرێن کووردا جغرافیا کوردستانی هاتی گوتن هەرێکی شێوازێکی گوتی مکۆم کردنوانە مگو ئەم چێ بکەن جەبەلیە میری هەکاریە چییە چ سمبۆل دناو دەهاتنە کردن جلو بەرگێوان چاوا بوون بنەفشا نارین کی بوو چاوا ئەڤ ئێل و عەشیر هاتنە سوار تێد هەبوون هەست تێد هەبوون کەوا گۆزەل تێدەیە ئەم بێژن هەنێک سمبۆل تێدەنە ئەوانە گریدان ئاوێن بجڤاکا کوردی من بکار ئانی ڕاستی وەختێز کار دەکەم ئەزوان بکار تێنم ئەس دخوازم بدم پێش و بڕاستی گەلێکی دەماز هاتم ئەمریکا بە 10 ساڵ لە ئەمریکا من ئەف کات چالاکیە گۆز دەکەم کێفا ئەمریکیاژی پر جوان کارانارتێ ji ber got bînin ji aliyê hunerî gelekî baş e babet jî babetek taybet jiwanar e yani ew babeta ticarî nehatî gotin wextê ciwan qala dastanekê dike dastanek got ticarî nebîstine ew tiştekî gelekî ciwan balkêş e ji bo kesên dinê jî yani ji bo Ereba jî ji bo Tirka jî ew milletên din jî diriya van tiştare millet nazikin got ev milletê Kurd dîroka kwanî taybet heye yani nasnameyek wanî taybet heye ve şartî îja ez di karê xwe de ez strana kom dikim niha belkî ez bêjim 5000 belkî bêtir stran ê Kurdî dastanê Kurdî min kom kirine ez wan kom dikim wan didim ber hevdû ez bêjim dastanekê zê çê bikim ez wêtînim ber hevdû çend dengbêja gotiye em bêjin 10 dengbêja ji aliyê Serhedê gotin ji aliyê Mêrdînê gotin aliyê Orfa gotin aliyê Şingalê gotin em bêjin li aliyê Hewraman ew tişta gotin li aliyê Ormiya hatî gotin ez wan kom dikim heya gojmitê ez didim ber hevdû kîjan a got nêzîkî ez dibînim nêzik çîrokê yê û a got bandorê li me dikin ji deng û ji şêwaza gotinê û nivîsandinê ez wan kom dikim û ez sembolê wan çê dikim yani sketçê wan çê dikim û ez dikim tablo niha proje berdewam e ez serkar dikim bi dawî nebûye ez dixwazim got yani kêmanî 20 tabloyê bi vê rengê mezin çê bikim dastanên Kurdî werin têkevin nav hunerê hunera şêwekariyê de û bên pêşandan li gelek de bera niha rexnak me heye li ser hunermendê Kurda hunermendê Kurda piraniya wan ji ber got sûka Kurdî bazara Kurdî tineye hunermendê Kurda çavê xwe berdin deverê din ji nav hêlîna xwe derdikevin ji bo got nas bibin naskirin navdar ji bo got karê xwe berhemê xwe bifroşin berê xwe din em bêjin yekî li Tirkiye Kurdekî li Bakur li Tirkiye be gelekî nasnameya xwe Kurdî nade pêş dibêje ez hunermendekî Türk im yekî li Sûriye be dibêje ez hunermendekî Sûrî me yekî li Iraqê bijî gelek ciwana ez naz dikin dibêjin em Iraqî ne nasnama Kurdî dixin paş de ve tişêrin gelek cara nadin eşkere kirin ew bandoreke xerab li hunerê dike ji ber ku em nizanin pê ew hunermenda ka çi li ser çi berhema xwe hunera xwe ava kiriye û yadinê jî xwe davêjin aliyê hunera modern yani berê xwe din abstraktê berê xwe din tiştên em bêjin kolaj û ew tiştanê got nûjenin di nav hunera nûjen de ji bo gozûz û derkevin pêla xwe bavêjin aliyê bibin navdar yan ji wan li şûnekî li galîrîkê li New Yorkê li Parîsê nizanim li Tokyo pêşengehekê çê bikin ji bo got navê xwe bidin pêş ez nebûye nerîne min rastî em ê bariyan tê got huner nasnama milleta têgirêdan û tecrüba milleta heye Picasso numunak ji wan kesanê got Guernica çêkirî her kes dizane Picasso İspanî bû ser wî bajara çêkir û tabloya gelekê hat naskirin diriya wê tabloyê me gelek çîrok naskirin ka Franco çikirî ji İspanya yadinê Goya Francisco Goya ew jî li İspanya gelek behsa gelek tişta kirî çawa qiralên wê demê çawa xelkên sivîl dikuştin li dijî şoreşa xelkên cotkar bû li Parîsê li Fransa jî Delacroix tabloyek wî belkî her kesî we dîtî tabloyek wî hey dibêje azadî pêşkeşiya millet dike jinek kuloçekirî bi alekê girtiye û tabloa gelekî naskiriye ew anî ziman wek van hunermendanê navdar anî ziman got huner beşekî ji xebata gel ji nav xelkê derdikeve û di nav xelkê zmezin dibe û li xelkê vediger di nav civatê vediger huner ne zimanekî ji ezmanayê got em bêjin tiştekî gelekî berz û bilind huner heleqetayê bi ciwaniyê heye ew ciwanî dihêle got ti bi awayekî xweşik bersiva tişta bide ti bi awayekî xweşik li tişta binere û di nerîna min de ez dibêjim هنرمند وك فلتره تو آوك تخيت جناف خلقيت جيروكا وحستو نرين وهر تشتي تكوم دكي وبآوايكي نهت دوبارتك تفدقرين بآوك زلالتر خوشكتر ونرين عمده او خبر دبي بكرن اشتغاني لازم يجي جبو جو هنرا كردي بي آوا كرن هنرمند كرد خو بدن پیش بيگو بارتي سياسي نرين عمده بارتي سياسي خو بدن كيلكا وان هنرمند هنر برهمي كردا بكرن جبر جو براستي تشتكي بيجم جيور بكري جو هنر بخوا جيكي قالكي باشش بو بازرگاني جبو پرا ل باشترين كس ايگو زنگين دنياي ايگو كولكترن ايگو هنري ارت كولكتر هنري كوم دكن وانا دكرن ودفروشن مخابن دناف كرداد هين او چاندان هاتي چكن دناف تركاد هي دناف فارساد هي دناف عرباد هي دناف ملت دنها دناف كرداد هين چينه بويه خزي ام ببينن جو كسن زنگين كردا مالدار كردا قاربن دستي خباوجن هنرا كردي هنري بستينن وبدن پیش و ام تكفن مزارات تكفن ناف اوكشنا ناف دنيايده ام بيجن اف هنرمند كرد اف برهما كردي تفروتن بقاسي ويدمي نافي ماجي بيردد كف نافي كرداجي بيردد كف ويدمي بيشتواني تيج بارتي سياسي رج تيج جواتا كرديره ايجاد نري نامده جو ام ريبدن بيشتهاني هنرمند ما قالكي باشن قالكي باش سركفتي لتركيا از نازكم ناف هنرمند حري حستا بلند كردن د سوريا ده هنرمندي حري باش كردن العراقي هنرمندي حري باش كردن يك جوانا دوستكيمه سيروان باران جاركي بو وك نونري عراقي بشتي جبو هنري يعني بالا خبدي بيچقسي چند هنرمند عراقي دنا سيروان نقاند مش برغو براستي اشمنديك خوشي ل رجلاتي كردستان جي بها زياد ديني او تشتكي اوجي قال لك بالكيش هنرمندكي قال لك هجاي وناسكري سر استا ايراني كشتي اوان هنرمندانا هنا ليشما لوان خدي درناك تشاو ميلوان خدي دركبن دبيغو ام رياب بيرن ام كاربن بيشنگه گشتي باش استك باش بكن ام كاربن برهمي وان تي بكن تي خناف بازار دي بكرين وفروتني دي ام برهمي هنرمنداتي خناف ويجيا كردي او كساني بود نويسن هل بس ب رومان ب ليكولين ب ام برهمي وان بينن ام اي هنرمندي كردا بينن تي خناف دي ام اليكاري دكن جو هنر ويجا وبازرگاني البيش دكده واز دي بيجن ويا تشتكي مودرن جبو جواتك باش ود باشا روجي دي دناري نامد اوياي بب كليتا حري باش مفتاح حري باش جو ناسنامه كردي بزلالي بكرن اجبرغو سياست دناري نامد سياست ريفبريا جواتي دي جوات چلو چه دي جوات جه هنر جه آبوريه جه چاندو كلتوري چه دي سياستي او تشتيگو چه دي بتي لزيوراي تسكنه جو وي بريفد وي اورجنايزد كچاوا اف جواتا پیش دهره اما او جواتا جو چيكرنه هي نهاتيه چه نبي راستي ام تخازن جو ام رني بين سر وان كارانا بشك جي هنره و ام سر بسكنن و ام كاربن بيتر ودناف گفتگو انت خود كسي سياسي قالاي بكن ري بي ام وان بدن پیش ام چالاكيا بكن ام پشتوانيا وان هنرمندا بكن جو برهمن باش بين كرن ودمي وي اوجي خدي دركبن لجواتا خو وكسي بودرافيش جواتا كرداوي فجر او هنرمنداني قد بيشن از تركم يا از سوريمه يا از عراقيمه يا از فارسم يا از ايرانيمه ودمي بسربلندي وشهنازي بيجي از كردم صورتكم حيال فيدا بس جبو وقتاوه سباسيا ودكم جارك دني ونوروزاوا بيروز به چاوي موي الخباتن وبه واز بشكم جبي خلكي از هنر اخو هر جارجي مترخاندي جبو خلكي خو از دينداري وانم حيا گوزهبم از كار هول بدم جو كاري باش او رنگين جواني خوش دجواتا خود بدم پیش خلكير
Quelques spas, quelques Lukman, for your very insightful summary of the art and presenting your artwork. Just to summarize, there are a couple of our friends joining us. Just to summarize for them is that Keke Lukman's main point was that the art is one of the factors that make a society. And then the Kurdish art has not been developed, or especially recently has not been taken seriously, neither by Kurds or others. But his effort is to kind of, without borders, without any political affiliations, to work with the art, with the huner, and with the to bring up the Kurdish culture, to kind of bring up the art into the Kurdish culture, and let the Kurdish the Kurdish artists, or those who have contributed to the Kurdish culture, be known through his effort. And his point is that the Kurdish people should support the Kurdish art and bring the Kurdish art into the world scene, so that it takes its needed or deserved place among the international art. He also mentioned that the Kurdish art, the Kurdish culture, is very rich compared to the people around. So this needs to be this needs to be brought up to the life. Thank you very much, Keke Lukman. We very appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I guess Khushka Bayan is here. Now, I would like to, Bahatin, are we having a short 1-2 minutes break before we call on Khushka Bayan?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's listen Kurdish music clip, and then after that, yeah, we can have Bayan Sami.
Okay.
Yeah, give me just 1 minute. Yep, yes,
After,
Mom.
yeah, after that classical Kurdish music and classical Kurdish musician, I'm going to introduce you Dr. Bayan Sami Abdurrahman, who everyone knows. So simply, she doesn't need much explanation or introduction. Dr. Bayan Sami Abdurrahman is currently a Kurdish regional government representative to the US, not only as a politician, not as a diplomat, but she's also a fierce defender of human rights, women's rights, and has worked in this for a few decades. So she's very experienced in human rights as well as Kurdish culture. Her family has grown has been in the center of the Kurdish struggle. Without further ado, I will invite Bayan Sami Abdurrahman to give us her summary about the importance of Newroz for the Kurds. Please come here. Please come in, and the stage is yours, Sayın Khushka Bayan.
Thank you very much, Mamusta Osman. I really appreciate the invitation to join you and all our friends in Illinois tonight. It's a great honor to share the platform with you and with Kak Lukman. I'm a great admirer of Kak Lukman's artistic work, and I'm very happy to say that I have a couple of his paintings in my home and in my office, in fact. So he's a wonderful artist, and of course a musician as well as a painter. And I know in Washington, many people appreciate his work. So I'm happy that I managed to catch some of what he was saying. Thank you for inviting me, and happy Newroz to everybody. Jajna wa hamma piroz be. Really, I want to give you or share with you my own thoughts about Newroz and how I have experienced Newroz as a child in Kurdistan, and then later growing up in the diaspora in the UK, and then perhaps now as a government representative. And by the way, I'm not a doctor. I always feel like I'm cheating if someone calls me a doctor. I feel sorry for all the people who worked hard to get their doctorates. No, thank you. But I think for the people who work to earn it, it's important that we respect the title. So my earliest memory of Newroz, when I really think about it, was in the mid-70s. So I was a young child. My father had been a minister in the Iraqi cabinet. This was part of the autonomy agreement between the Ba'athist government of Iraq and the Kurds under Mullah Mustafa Barzani. And in the autonomy agreement, one part of the agreement was that there would be Kurdish ministers in the Iraqi cabinet. So this was the first time that Kurdish ministers as Kurds would be in the Iraqi cabinet, and one of those was my father, and he was the Minister for Northern Affairs, meaning Kurdistan. So we had been, after living in Kurdistan, we had been living in Baghdad for a few years. I was there as a child. And then, you know, the agreement, the autonomy agreement collapsed, right? We all know about the autonomy agreement in the mid-70s, and this caused a huge refugee crisis. Many people fled to Iran or got stuck in Iran. They were there already, and then they didn't know what would happen to them if they went back. So it's this part, this mid-70s, that I really remember my first Newroz. So we had fled Baghdad, and we were in the mountains. Sorry, it's my son. Say hello. Happy Newroz.
I did want to mean that.
You are mute.
Sorry, thank you.
That's
I
fine.
thought he wanted to say hello. He just wanted to give me some news about something. I apologize for that. So it was the mid-70s. We had fled Baghdad with many other people, and we were living in the mountains in Kurdistan. And this was a period where there was fighting between the Kurds under Mullah Mustafa Barzani and the Ba'athist government. So we were in a house and we had a shelter, an underground shelter. And because of my father's position, we had many guards around outside of the house and, going around with my father. So Newroz evening, I guess it must have been the 20th of March, like tonight, the night before Newroz. The Peshmerga, the guards outside, they built a fire for themselves. And one of them started to sing and they started to dance, Dilan itgeren. And it was dark. So this memory is etched in my mind. They all have Kurdish clothes with Kalashnikovs on their back and the fire in the middle. And one of them is singing and they're all dancing and kicking the dust under their feet. It was a very, very powerful image that has always been seared in my mind. And I always think about those Peshmerga. Where are they today? What happened to them? Did they survive all the terrible genocides and things that we saw later? Did they flee to Iran? I was too young to really understand what would happen to them. But that moment when they were celebrating Newroz, even though there was war against this very terrible dictatorship, that has always stayed with me. So now I really want to talk about how Newroz, what Newroz meant to me, and I would say my fellow Kurds who were growing up in Britain and perhaps also here in America, in the diaspora. We were refugees in Britain. We didn't go there by choice. We were exiles. And so the time that we went to Britain, really, there weren't so many foreigners there. The street where we lived in the suburbs, everybody was English except us, one Iranian family and one Indian family. Everybody else, hundreds of people living in that street, everybody was white English. So it was quite isolating growing up in Britain in that time. And in my school, I went to school, 600 girls in my school, one Pakistani and one black and me. Everybody else was white and English. So it was a very isolating upbringing in terms of Kurdayati, except when I would go home and my mom had Kurdayati all by herself. There were pictures, paintings by Kurdish artists on the wall. My mother had photos of Mullah Mustafa Barzani, of Sheikh Mahmoud, every Kurdish leader that you could think of. There was a picture or a portrait of them. Our food was Kurdish. My mother spoke to us in Shingali, Kurmanji. No matter what language we spoke, no matter what we did, she spoke in Shingali to us. But really, we were isolated as children growing up, especially in the early years of moving to the UK. And there weren't so many Kurds in Britain at that time. Many of us think around that time, there were probably 200 families across all of the United Kingdom. And the one thing that would unify us would be Newroz. So people would travel to London from Scotland, from Wales, from Ireland, even from all over Britain. They would travel to London, where there would be a very humble Newroz compared to the Newroz events that we see now among the diaspora. There would be, somebody who's a doctor but happened to play the violin. He would play the violin. Somebody who was a teacher, she had a good voice, she would do the singing. All of the families would bring the food. It was a very humble Newroz, but there would be patriotic speeches. as I said, whoever could sing or play an instrument would do it. And we would dance. And this would be the one time where I would meet other kids or teenagers who were Kurdish and growing up abroad like me, who were exactly in my situation. And Newroz really became the unifier for us, and the one time of the year that we would look forward to gathering with everybody. And then in the days following that, especially when there would be the Easter holiday, so the school holiday in Britain would be at Easter. Easter in the UK is a very big holiday. I know in the United States it's not, but Easter would very quickly follow Newroz, and that would be the time that all of the families would meet up for picnics. So we would continue this celebration by going for Seyran and having barbecues and picnics together. And really, this was, I think, very important for those of us who were growing up abroad at that time. Newroz was the time that unified us, that made you feel really connected. And this is a time where there was no Kurdish television abroad, no satellite TV to watch, no internet, nothing. So when I say we were isolated, we really were isolated. Really, I have to thank my mother, may she rest in peace, for maintaining the flame of Newroz and Kurdayati in our family. My father was always away because of his position in the Kurdish leadership and the Kurdish movement. He really, we saw him once or twice a year. He wasn't there every day as we were growing up. So Newroz also grew to mean resistance. It was the unifier for us growing up, but it also meant resistance. We all learned the story of Kawai Asengar, Kawa the blacksmith. I don't know if you already covered this. If not, I will very briefly say, legend says that there was an evil king, Azdahak, who had snakes growing out of his shoulders. And these snakes had to be fed the brains of 2 young men every day. That was the only way that the snakes would not eat Azdahak himself. They had to be fed the brain of 2 young men. And so in this kingdom, every day, 2 young men were sacrificed to keep the tyrant happy. Until one day, Kawa, the blacksmith, who had lost 6 sons to the evil tyrant, rose up in defiance and led an uprising. And so that was the end of the evil king, and people lit fires to send each other the message that the evil king or the tyrant had been defeated. So this story was told to us every year, and this was the time of Saddam Hussein. So what better example than an evil king with snakes growing out of his shoulders? So we really saw Newroz also as a day of Kurdish nationalism, as a day of defiance against the dictatorship. And then over time, as the number of Kurds in the UK increased, as we began to see a Kurdish cultural center develop in London, and actually my husband is one of the founders of the Kurdish Cultural Center in London. And then other organizations like Kurdish Human Rights Watch and so on. And the Kurds really started to organize more. And so Newroz festivals began to be held, and they were much bigger scale. You would have thousands of people in the parks, for example, or 4 or 5 different Newroz festivals and parties just in London, let alone in Manchester or Birmingham or Glasgow. So the scale of things grew, but really I would say that the unity for the diaspora, it still brought everybody together at a joyful moment. And it also still symbolized defiance against the authoritarian regimes and the dictatorships that the Kurds lived under. The other thing I should say about Newroz, and holds true to today, when I was growing up, this is when the genocides were taking place in Iraqi Kurdistan until 1988, when Anfal and Halabja and all of those, the peak of the genocide happened. And so many of these tragedies happened in March. And we were all certain that Saddam was doing this deliberately. Of course, there were terrible events happening throughout the year, but many of them happened in March. And so March would always begin with a lot of somber, tragic histories and stories and really mourning and bereavement. The beginning of March was always a period of bereavement. And then you would get to Newroz, and somehow we had to allow ourselves to be joyful for Newroz because it meant defiance. To be joyful meant that we were defying, that no matter what the tragedy, we would rise up, we would be optimistic, we would fight for another day. And so I actually think that the act of celebrating Newroz is an act of defiance. It really is an act of defiance. And of course, it's a joyful time. We picnic, we barbecue, we meet our friends. Like now, we're meeting online. I guess normally we would be sitting together and celebrating. And I think it really is achieving a few things: unity, bringing us together, joy and hope in the new year. But celebrating in itself is an act of defiance against tyranny, dictatorship, and oppression. I think I've spoken quite a lot. One last thing, perhaps one last thought I'd like to share with you. You know, I have a young child, and so he's growing up here in America, and I'm trying to make him appreciate Newroz. And so we're doing things at home to make him understand that Newroz is important for us. And I was so happy today to see on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, not only Kurdish leaders sending out messages for Newroz, but world leaders. And I saw Justin Trudeau's message, Joe Biden's message, and I'm sure leaders all around the world are now recognizing Newroz. And that makes it so much easier for us as parents of another generation in the diaspora to say, look, it's not just us who recognize it as an important day, as a day of celebration. Look, even President Biden is doing this, even Prime Minister Trudeau is doing this. And I think that's a huge progress compared to when I was growing up in the UK and feeling very isolated and not really knowing what to do with Newroz until I would meet my fellow Kurds. So we have come a long way, but still, I think we should all enjoy Newroz the best way that we can. We should all thank artists like Kak Lukman. Your art speaks volumes. Just one stroke of your brush says so much, and your music. You're a great musician as well. And it's people like you who make Newroz so enjoyable for us and so memorable. And with that, I'd like to thank you and thank Kak Osman for inviting me, and wish everybody here a happy and peaceful Newroz.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's an honor for me to be with you. As always, you know, you appreciate art, and since you arrived to DC, actually, we've been very close, and always you support art and Kurdish art and culture. So I appreciate to know you closely, and also you have some piece of my art in your home. So it's an honor. Thank you so much for all what you shared, that your experience and what you thought about Newroz and Kurdish diaspora. Thank you, Bayan.
Thank you, Kak Lukman. The honor is mine, genuinely.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Khshka Bayan and Keke Lukman, for your very, very insightful comments about Newroz and its importance in unifying the Kurdish, and that it is, in biology, we call it stem cells, which means that it is the cell that regenerate the other cells needed. So Newroz is a stem of the Kurdish resistance. and it is also a unifying. So no matter what you think, no matter where you live, it is a unifying branch or stem for all the Kurds. And as Bayan just mentioned at her last point, all the world is ready for the Kurds, much, much more than in the past. Now it is up to us to show with our art, with our insights, with our acts, and with our unity to show that we deserve a place in the world, and the world culture deserves to have a Kurdish Newroz culture as well as art within it is arena. With that, I would like to thank you very much. Bayan Khan, you joined us this week, last week. Thank you very much. And we are looking forward to see your events tomorrow. And by the way,
thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much. Bahattin, it's back to you. Do we have, if anyone has any questions, the rest of our program, I think we have about 10-15 minutes left, would be about some pre-recorded musics from our friends. So if anyone has any questions, please come up, and then after that, we'll go ahead and listen to those pre-recorded music from our friends, international friends, as well as from Kurdish friends. Bahattin, back to you.
Okay, so do we have any questions, dear friends, about art and Newroz?
Yeah, I have actually one question.
Yeah, go ahead. Osman.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for speakers for this event. So I am Ahmad from Chicago, and for the as somebody who grew up in not a Kurdish city and coming to Chicago Kurdish Center, and I am really happy to part of Kurdish Center of Illinois, because I also learn a lot about Kurdish culture, Kurdish history in Chicago. So for the kids, and Bayan Sami Rahman said, do you have any like plan? I don't know, maybe in not like coming years, but for the future, anything like a Kurdish youth programs for all the USA? So if we can have some like summer camps for the kids, it can be a great event for them to discover their Kurdish identity. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Kak Ahmad. That's such a good question. I know, for example, there are summer camps for Jewish children. I have some Jewish friends, and their children in the summer go to a Jewish summer camp. So it's such a good idea to do that for Kurdish children. I think it would have to be in the future in terms of the government, the KRG. Our finances, as you can imagine, are not very good right now. So we really only have the minimum to be able to keep our operations, our office going in Washington. But definitely, I think it's a wonderful idea. There was an idea that was kind of similar. My friend Kaktaha Barwari, he was the KRG Minister of Youth and Sport back in around 2008, something like that, 2008 or 10, I don't remember exactly. He was the Minister of Youth and Sport. And what he did was he arranged for some young Kurds, maybe they were like in their teens, like 17, 18, from Europe, to go to Kurdistan and to spend a couple of weeks there, to travel around, meet people, and really kind of see their homeland in a very controlled way. So, their parents would be comfortable that they're not going somewhere crazy. And that was such a lovely idea, but, I don't think he was able to do it more than once or twice. So the ideas are there. Our problem always is just not having the budget to continue that kind of thing. Unless somebody wants to open a summer camp as a private enterprise, open it as a private enterprise somewhere in America, and then we would all send our children there. But it's a great idea.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Fatih?
Yeah, sure. Well, I have a question for KK Lukman. KK Lukman, thank you for your presentation and saying they were very thoughtful. I was thinking, so how did you get your education? I mean, did you go to some like madrasa or like art school in Kurdistan, or you learned everything in the USA?
No, actually, I didn't. Actually, I finished high school in Syria. But, you know, for some reason, actually, my father was against me. You know, he didn't allow me to study art. So he was looking to for something different, you know, to study like be a doctor or engineer or something like that. I didn't like it. So this agreement actually, you know, with us, so dropped me off. So I couldn't go to university. But, you know, I keep working on that that way. I get a lot of things, you know, like what I need for my art, not just about art. Actually, I have read a lot about Kurdish history. I can talk hours about Kurdish history and about Kurdish music, Kurdish folklore, and also other side, you know, to open my mind. I read about Europe culture, Russian culture, Latin American culture. So that's helped me how those people, they create their identity through the art or culture. So I work a lot, and with my experience, I think it's good. I wish to study art, but you know, I couldn't actually. That's also the one of our struggle as to be artists in Kurdish society. With music too, my father didn't allow me to play tambur saz. So I was big liar, you know, to him. So always I was hiding my tambur, my saz. Then slowly, after my father's, you know, the first exhibition actually I did in Al-Hasaka, my city, my father came there and saw a lot of Kurdish, like a politician there and some other people in the city around me. So that time he got proud of that. So, but you know, the time was past actually already. So we became friends actually. Now we have agreement, but it was a struggle, not just me. Through my program actually, I bring always the light on that things, you know, the struggle of the Kurdish artist, musician, you know, those people who trying to get something for themselves and for their people. They struggled a lot. That was terrible for me. But now I think I'm good. You know, I'm through my art, I try to speak bravely and very clear about my experience and also to be part of my people's dream to get to be free or get their freedom.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure, Kekada.
Okay, well, my question is for Kek Lukman as well. You know, it's pretty hard to find a Kurdish art in the United States. When I opened my office, actually from my house as well, I was looking for Kurdish arts so hard. In fact, I Googled so many times, you know, Kurdish arts here, if there is any Kurdish arts here and there, or if there is any websites I can find anyone. I just couldn't find anyone. I knew only one Kurdish guy who used to study in Chicago, called Chicago Art Institute, something like that, and moved back to Kurdistan. I couldn't reach him. So my question is that how do you advertise your art, or how can we even get into contact with you to maybe, you know, see your art and to purchase it, maybe even, you know, promoting to other people?
Yeah, thank you so much.
You have a Kurdish art in your office, you know, a lot of people come to your office, American.
Yeah, actually, I mentioned that through when I was talking about art. That's part of to support Kurdish artists, you know, the other people. to be like, it's kind of business now in United States of America and in Europe. The rich people, actually, they are, you know, some of them, they are art collector. You know, art is kind of business. If we think about that, we can get a lot of money through the art. So to us, you know, the Kurdish artists, actually, we don't have that supporter. You know, we don't have a sponsor, because you need sponsor, you need some manager to work, because physically, when you do art, you spend very long time to finish a piece of work. So then you have to put them on website, or I usually, for myself, I use my social medias accounts, you know, on Instagram and Facebook, and I have also a website. But that's not enough, you know, you have to have something else, you know, some people working on that. We don't have, actually, unfortunately, we don't have in our culture and as a Kurds, we don't have art collector, you know. In Arab society or culture, they have it. In Turkish culture, they have it. In Persian, but in Kurdish culture, we don't have. Still, that's new, very new for our people. But hopefully, we get that. You know, that point is very, very important. Like Jewish people, for example, they are very smart. You know, they use it. Like one of the great artists, Marc Chagall. He was Jewish, Russian Jewish. He came to Paris, and then he came to New York. But Jewish people use that guy, the artist. He was a big artist, actually, because he was basing his art painting on the Jewish history. So what happened? They use his art, you know, it's kind of identity for themselves, you know, like said, okay, we fight from that side, and this is our identity, talking about, you know, Jewish history. They use it that for money also. Now, Marc Chagall, for example, one piece of his painting, I don't know how many $1 million, you know. So we need that support. I think the Kurdish businessman, you know, they could do that. They could think about how to use art as kind of business. We don't have that. I have one Iraqi American guy. He's my friend, Andy Shalal. He's in DC, actually. He did something like that. You know, he has a restaurant, but part of his restaurant he opened to use for art and culture. So he used art and culture as part of his business. We don't have that with Kurd. I think we should do something like that. You know, we a little bit work on it, and I'm ready to for anything, for any suggestion. We can create something like be a business and in the same time art or culture center.
I mean, it's not my position to, you know, tell you what to do, obviously. But the thing is that we have so many Kurdish culture centers or places that is devoted to Kurdish culture all over the United States. You know, if you go to Chicago, there are Kurdish-owned restaurants. They have available places here in San Francisco, LA area, Kurdish culture centers or spaces available for this type of thing. You know, I was wondering because, you know, as a Kurdish man who admires Kurdish art, to be honest with you, I thought that this was missing in my life, which if it is missing in my life, I know that it's missing in many people's life. We have arts from different places. It's not that we don't want to have those arts, but you always want to have something from your part, your, you know,
right.
your background as well, for your culture. So I think there are a lot of places or opportunities to do that. And I hope that you can contact them and try to.
Yeah, actually, thank you so much. Actually, I did, and I'm doing that. You know, we're working on that. We're trying to get something good, you know, but you know, we don't have enough budget for that. You know, that's need a little bit more effort for that to be high level. You know, if you do, I do sometimes locally. I did many events here, there, you know, but if you try to reach more people and to be jump to the business, you know, to get more, you know, like selling, marketing art, I think that's a little bit you have to work on it. Some people can use it, as I mentioned, Andy Shalal, for example. He's doing that very greatly, and now he has 2-3 places, you know, he opened for that reason. We don't have that in our society, you know. I think we should work. I try personally, I talk to many friends and I try to push them, encourage them to do something like that. By myself also, I'm thinking about that, but you know, it's not easy. We need to work more. We need to have a plan for that. And also Bayan Khan, she always open for that. We discussed a lot about that. But you know, for Kurdish situation back home, and now the policy and the politics in America, you know, a little bit change. So I think hopefully for future we can have something. It will be great. We don't have that, you know, as I told you, like for example, easy things, website for Kurdish artists. We don't have that in that's not my job. Should somebody else work on that, you know? Yeah.
Well, thank you. Good luck.
Thanks.
Any other question or suggestion?
If I can ask one more question I have.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you. And I don't know how many years ago, but once, my question is also again for Bayan Sami Rahman. I met you in one of Kurdish National Congress in Michigan with other Chicago board member friends. And you also share your experience with London Kurdish Cultural Center, and your husband, you said he worked hard for that too, I remember. So I have a friend now from Ankara, and Kurdish friend. He moved to England because of all the political things in Turkey. He is a successful engineer, so he got a job in Jaguar factory in Birmingham. And interestingly, as I told you, being assimilated Kurd, he was my first Kurdish teacher, but he made fun of my accent, so I stopped learning Kurdish for a while. Now I told him about our Chicago Kurdish Center experience, and we have Mamoste Osman, Bahoz, Bahattin, really great friends doing a lot of job, and other community members. So the thing is, and we have a lot of struggles, and I remember you mentioned your husband was dealing with, some people are, Apo is great, Barzani is great, all the political differences. So how we can make like a, you know, some structure, if somebody wants to open a Kurdish cultural center, how you can manage the center, you know, like some organizational management, what kind of committees you need, and how do you also some kind of training for the board members. So how are you gonna deal somebody from Northern Iraq, somebody from Turkey, somebody from Rojhelat? So can we create something like, so because, and Abdullah Adem, our lawyer friend said, so California, New York, for example, they say they had a center, but they closed it. I think they couldn't manage it. So we have a lot of management problems all over the Western world for Kurdish centers. Can we think about something like that too, like a knowledge transfer?
I think it's a good idea, but really with these cultural centers, they have to be community-based, right? They have to be for the community, by the community. As soon as a government gets involved, then it gets political as well. And honestly, I'm in the leadership of a political party, but in my opinion, internal Kurdish politics should be dealt with back home. What's the point of having infighting in America because I'm with this party and you're with that party? What do we achieve? The Americans aren't interested. They just see us as divided, right? And we should really do our best to just get on and lobby for each other, lobby for our community within the United States. And I always actually encourage Kurds in America, and especially the young generation, I encourage them to create associations. So for example, the Kurdish Lawyers Association of the United States, the Kurdish Medical Association of North America, the Kurdish Artists Society of North America. By creating these associations, hopefully you take away the politics, right? People are gathering together because they're all artists or they're all engineers, or they're all businessmen. I mean, that's the other thing that I've suggested, especially to the community in Nashville. There are at least 50 Kurdish businesses in Nashville. If they join and create a Kurdish business association in Nashville, it gives them a voice. The mayor of Nashville has to listen to them. The governor of Tennessee has to listen to them. It gives them a way of organizing, of meeting, of discussing whatever they want to discuss, whether it's culture, business, community affairs. It gives them an umbrella to gather under without it being political, hopefully. So this is my theory that people should really focus on professional associations or cultural centers and just leave the politics. Leave the politics for back home, because elections are won and lost over there. No voting that we do here, even with all of the voting that goes on in the Iraqi elections in the United States, really there aren't enough Kurdish votes to make a difference. So we should stop this infighting and just focus on things that unify us. Now, your suggestion, Kak Ahmad, is to kind of transfer management skills. Honestly, I think we're all in America. Everybody's working here, right? Whether you have your own business or whether you work in an office that's run by somebody else, there is management around you. And we should all be learning from that. You know, before I worked for the Kurdistan regional government, I was a journalist for 17 years. Okay, journalism is a kind of an unusual profession, but even in journalism, there is management. They manage the office, they manage the stories, they manage the photography. And I think we should all really learn management from the Americans, wherever we're working, whether you're working at VOA or in a small business or in a large company. I think that's really where people can learn the management skills and then implement them. But really, I think this idea of separating Kurdish politics from the diaspora is really important. We are much more effective as a diaspora lobbying for Kurdistan by being united, by putting aside my party and his party or her party. So that's really my answer, Kak Ahmad.
Thank you very much for very true.
I was not able to hear.
Not good to hear.
I think we have another question. Khalaf, are you here?
Yes, hello. I think he said I was not able to hear.
Yes, he did that.
Yes, I don't think. Mr. Abdurrahman, I want to actually thank you for your really heartwarming memory and experience of Newroz and what it meant to you, what it means to you. And I want to also echo, what you said in terms of the importance of the Kurdish unity rising above, factional differences and the importance of unity. What you do is really important and we appreciate it. And Keke Lukman, پرسید که ما هیا جبویتا و دما که راستی از تدشوپینم لهر داری و از کاری که دیکی گلکی پیروز و به همپاد بینم و براستیش گلکی به سر بلندم و لهر داری بحثا کاری تا دیگه مینا که هجا یا هنرا کردی پرسامن التش در حق یعنی گاوا کوته لسر کاری که دخبتی مثلا دما تو استرانات دی هاف کمدی کی لقای چه زحمتی و زوریا مثلا تی در امبیجی دما کوته کمدی کی و چاف کنیا و پیشته و دما ت امبیجی تاوتش کم کرن چابج ما تبچه آوای مثلا جچراوش درباز دبیک و حتی کو او هستینگ و او زانیستا کو تدی هاف و ته زمان و لسر فچاتا لسر هنرن تا برهمن کوت درنی هوله زۆر سپاس
گەلک سپاس بۆ پرساتە سپاسیاتە دکەم بڕاستی ji بۆ danhevê yani wek min got dastanên Kurdî taybet ne folklora Kurdî gelekek helekora Kurdî yani çîrokin, cîvanokin, stranê dîlanê ne bes ez bala xwe gelkî midayî yani hêza xwedayî ser dastan ew epek yan jî melheme ew dastanên got dirêj yani dengbêjek çîrokekê bi dengê xwe dibêje piraniya dengbêja çê kirine stran çawa bên qeyl İspanya jî beşekûlo hebû trabador tiştekî navekî wilo bûn diçûn çîrok digotin bi stran digotin îja ewan dengbêjana çîrokek wan gelkî xweş heye wana yani ez pir qedrê wan digirim pir ji wan hez dikim ji ber wan destê wan di parastina zimanê Kurdî hebû dîroka Kurdî yani Elîkê Betê meselen di başûriya mala Seyidxanê ker ya mala Filîtê Qutub ya spêjim çi gelek navhene ewana goyd li dijî hikûmetê şerk yani berxwedan kirine mala Elî Unis yan Çiyayê Sason meselen wana şer kirin li dijî hikûmetê yani tiştekî polîtîk siyasî bû lê wan dengbêja bi awayekî hunerî gotin ew stran û bela kirin li devê her kesî bela bûn ew navana navê mala Elî Unis mij dengbêja bîstî berî got ez dîrokê bixwînim dîrok ji ber nehatî nivîsandin îja zehmetiyayê çi deyî te got ji bo zehmetiyayê yek zehmetiyê wê got mixabin te dî Kurd bêser û binin ew erşîv erkeyafa Kurdî ya dengbêja wenda bûye yani kesî nedayê hevdû wenda bûye tenê hinek dengbêj ê got derfet em bêjin li Bakur wek Şakiro dengî pir bilind bû ji ber got Şakiro derfet cerçê got diyar bû got strana bêjî gelek hatin tomarkirin lê belê wek wîna bi hezara dengbêj dengê wana çûn em nizanin pê tiştekî ser wana wenda bûne mig ez bi şexsê xwe yani ez geriya me ez çûm meselen bajarekî ez bêjim ez çûm Batmanê ya çûm Hewlêrê ya Duhokê ya Zaxo yan ez li gera xwe ez çûm ciyê kasêta kasêt bûm berê min ji wan digot ka kasêtê dengbêja bidme çil cem te hey bidme diş didan me mitanî îja min da ber hevdû min dawiyê bi rêyekê me kir dijîtal yani me kir ser berê kasêt bûn me kirin dijîtal bi hezara çêbûne îja çi çêbûye ştekê xwe bêjim hinek stran heye dengbêj mesela naviya nizane nav şaş danîne navê meselen gotin rifetê darî bes ew wextê guhdar dikim ne rifetê darî dibêjin Ezzedîn wextê guhdar dikim ne Ezzedîn li gor texmîna xwe çêkirine gelek maf û heqê wana hatî xwarin ez wan kom dikim ez wan dim hevdû ana min da beş kirî meselen ê Şengalê halê wê şêwazek halê wê Botan Cezîra Botan halê wê aliyê Urfa û deşta Sirûcê halê wê aliyê Mêrdînê deşta Mêrdînê halê wê aliyê Serheda halê wê min kom kiriye ez îdî naz dikim aliyê Efrînê Kobanê cêwaz e ez wan kom dikim dengbêja wez çawa dikim meselen balkêş stranekê wek ana min got strana Hemê û Keneyê Hemê Keneyê ev çîrokek rast e li deşta Sirûcê çêbûye di dawiya wextê Osmaniya de wextê İbrahîm Paşa hîn bidar bû di wê demê de Ereb Şemmer û çend eşîrê Ereba êrîşî Kurda dikin Kurd dikevin gundê Kurda de xuşka Hemê û Keneyê ban dike ban birayê xwe dike hewar dike hewar dibêje Ereb ketine xanî me de mala me de divê hûn ser hildanê ew tiştekî siyasî dîsanê Hemê Keneyê racin çek û rextê xwe û şer dikin Ereba ji wê de derdixînin îja stran pir xweş hatî wasf têde ew çîrokeke mesela min lê guhdar kir kîjan dengbêj baş dibêje ez dim ber hevdû Baqê Xido gotiye niza ez bêjim Cemîlê Horo gotiye niza kê gotiye ez wan didim ber hevdû ê got baş dibêje xweşik dûrêzê hevdû dike gelekî giring e alîkî dinê heye aliyê mûzîkê tona mûzîkê dengbêjin hene dengê wana baş nexweş yani dibêjin ama nexweş dibêjin nizanin gelekî performansa wan ne baş e hinek hene dengbêj serê te digire wilo dixtê dilê guhdar dike te dikişînî bi alî xwe de ez wê kar dikim ew tişta ez kê fêr bûme ez bêjim ez ji Kandinsky fêr bûm Kandinsky behsa hunerê dikir hunermendekî Rûs e li Fransa ma yekî mezinekî hunermendayê rastî Kandinsky piyanist bû yek ji bavê hunera nûjen e yani dinyayê de Kandinsky piyanist bû ji dayika xwe fêr bû دقوت لهر رنجك تونا كوي موزيكي هي هر رنجك بتونا برتوغا كويجي هي سرولو سر رنج وتوناوي موزيك و رنج يعني الشيوكاري بهدو قريدابو او جمر بر بالام كشان وبراستي السر كاردكن تشاو مركار في كارابكي از بفي شوازي وراندم هبدو و از دخوازم جو دنابراوي دبراكي تشيكم تشاوات دنج بكي شيوا وبري حفتيه كيبو براستي ما تشتى كله شكر ازو هوزان برادر وغني ميرزو بو وابراهيم كيفو بو هنرمندكي ارمن بو او انا دي ثاني وقت انا مسر بهدور السر زومي بون وان ستراند جوتن وتشتى جوتن متابلوك المالي شكر بزندي ما او تشتا جربان كاتشاواي يعني بيغوس حاضر بكن بيغو بلان هذا ابراهيم سترانك قلت سترانك او كوچرا قلت علي كوچرا قلت حيرانوك وقتي قلت بالام كشان يعني تشد بيجي السوار بيجي والبرباكتي نزاتشي بالام كشان متشكر او تابلو وفيرا جد نوا ساعتك ما او تابلو البور ستراني متشكر مري واندا كاتشاوات كارتشتكي تشيك تشي باندوريل تك جا او كارك بيفاجويك بروسيسك السر كارت كراسي يعني هيفيدكم جوروجا كي از السر باش باخر نجي تشاوا تشيد از هيفيدكم جو هنرمندي كرداجي بري خو بدينه برغو تشتكي بر زنجين بر خوشه و دبتك كاميرا كارتي خناف سينما ديش تلي هيفيدارم جو باش بولو بس يتبو
جالك باش مالا تاغا
بس صاف
Fatih?
Yep. So after listening to some legends like Shvam Parver and Hassan Zirek, so we have legends from local. So we are going to hear our dear friend David. I think he's with us. So let me show you his clip. So he wrote this song and then he's going to sing. Give me just 1 second.
David is a friend of us. He himself, he's amateur, not professional, but he has written some words for the Kurds as a sport, and he sings. So there is a translation over there, and with his singing, thank you, David. Thank you very much. Zor spas.
Blood flows with stories. Blood boils. Our heartbeats remind me of the war. Our converse is yours. And worlds of rage. Homes full of ashes. Homes on fire. The bridge you took to get to me crashed in the water flowing fast, a rusty jumbo. Dinapchiyayan dem chiriskan, kwade de kumbe horina daya kame. Your hand in my hand, a circle grows strong. Heads full of memory, headlines, broken cities slapped and scarred with crime. From the tower to the store, the cry of old songs. Souls full of pieces, puzzles. hearts and bits we find our cause to rise for the lot to fight despite the cost. How long gotta fly? Dinavciayan dem chiriskam, Koridikam bewafnina dayakame. Your hand in my hand, our circle grows strong. We'll end this war down by the river. We'll end this war down by the riverside.
Thank you, David. So I think David is here. David, do you want to say hi?
Yes, hello. Gleki spas. Newroz B. Thank you for the translation and for being a part of this. I was really interested in all the speakers and great work. Thank you.
Thank you. So
Thank you, David. Zor spas.
So we have another video from Chicago. So we are going to hear KK Arash. He's from Rojhalat. So let me find the video is here. So
Bashur.
it's from, I think from, okay, he's from Bashur. Sure.
I think so.
I think it's from Rojhalat.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's in Dutch, maybe. It's from Kurdistan, basically. Give me just 1 second. Where is he? He's here.
All right.
Mamus Usman, are you there? Yep, he was amazing. Arash.
Yeah. I guess Arash is not with us now. Arash, are you around? Are you with us?
I cannot see his name, Mamusta.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have one more video clip from Mush from Northern Kurdistan, and then after that, we are going to end our program. It is short. I don't want to take your time. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a group cell. So I'm sharing my screen. So
those are my nephews.
Evqasi serbilindi Şeyhasina bu dengi Evqasi serbilindi Mervanim şehit keti Barane kurbari Mervanim şehit keti Ne türabe mervano Ey mervane rabude Ne türabe mervano Ey mervane rabude Çegasina bu dengi Evqasi serbilindi Çegasina bu dengi Evgasi severendi.
Amazing. Kekapu, you said they're from your village or hometown?
They are my nephews.
Oh,
Yeah, both of them are my nephews, actually.
nice.
So
Galax Pass, thank you everyone. Bahatin, are we ending? We are
Yeah.
a little over time,
Yep.
but yeah, thank you very much, Keke Lukman, Bayan.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Kurdish Gulf Center. You know, it was an unusual Newroz, but hey, it's a Newroz.
Yeah, Newroz, we develop means. It is resistance, no matter how you do it.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a real pleasure to join everyone, and happy Newroz.
Thank you. Happy Newroz.
Happy Newroz. Newroz tam başı.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.